Straight into it. Okay, thank you. Thank you for being here. I'll start a presentation after a few seconds of entry. And I'd like to say that the presentation has been made up of several presentations which I cut and pasted for this occasion. So let's say it's not exactly all in the same format and stuff like that, but I hope the content at least is clear. So then I'll share this one and okay, so here we are. I hope that the title is clear: Seeding Hope with Water, a plan to calm the weather and cool the planet fast. And so that's quite an ambitious undertaking, and it's probably the only thing in this time, in day and age, that really can change the things for good, because I think we are in a lot of trouble. But let me first say a few things about me. I have been an adventurer, a philosopher, been traveling the world, lived on 4 continents. I've been knowing about the crisis of humanity for a long time, and about climate change since 1988. But what taught me most was that in 2010 or 11, I bought a valley in the Mata Atlântica rainforest in Brazil to reforest. It was largely damaged, and it was pasture. And I wanted to offset my footprint. But what actually happened was that I learned a lot from being in nature for such a long time. And a couple of things that I'd like to share straight away is that in that 10 years or so that I've been busy there, within years of reforestation and water management, which is very, very simple once you know it, the springs were coming back. It was getting cooler, considerably cooler, so much so that one of the day wages quite recently said that he was always amazed how much cooler it was from the place where he lived, which was about a mile from there, and at the same altitude. Birds and reptiles were coming back faster, and anyway, you see that the insects are coming back faster. So I was very happy to see that with relative ease we could see the nature rebounding from the big devastation that was there. And here are just 2 photos from this area. One 6 years in between. You see the pastures there. Some of the green is cocoa beans, and other is what remained of the forest. You see that goes pretty fast. It is the tropics. Things grow fast, and with a little bit help, it goes faster even. I'll go through a couple of slides, which basically the people who are here know very well, but I'd like to remind us again. First of all, we all know we are in code red for humanity on this planet. There is no doubt, and it's Antonio Guterres who has made it very clear, and he's one of the few brave people who really tells out what the situation is. We also know this graph. We have been talking on conferences for 50 years and have been doing lots of reports, and the only thing that we see is that the greenhouse gases are going up, and actually this one is going up to 2021, but 2021 was another record, and they expect another record for this year. Not just going up, but I mean even a record going up. So basically, the whole climate approach as we have it now is a road to hell paved with good intentions. And I'd like to also say another thing. If you look around, and we all have been looking out of our window lately, we are at maybe 1.1 or 1.2 C now from where we started in terms of warming. And I don't think that 1.5 C is survivable for complex human societies. I think actually the idea that we need to keep the line at 1.5 or maybe 2 is the wrong approach. We actually have to cool the planet, because I don't think we will make it at 1.5. Some people will make it, but the interconnected global society that we have, I don't think it has a chance. And I'd like to also remind people that it was in October of 2019 that an article came out, I think it was in Nature, but a couple of the top climate scientists warned everybody that there were climate tipping points in the global climate system that were on the move. 9 of them are mentioned here, and as you can see, there's lines between most of them. They're interconnected. They have a sort of a domino effect on each other. And I personally have been busy a lot with the number 1, the Amazon rainforest, which is the one to go fastest if we believe the scientists. And I've been there also. I know it's drying out, and it has the capacity to die back in a runaway in a runaway event in a couple of decades, which will be disastrous for the world as a whole. So, and all the story about in the IPCC reports and the COPs is mainly about carbon. We have to get carbon down. We have to decarbonize. Yes, we have to. We have to do the energy transition. Yes, we have to. I'm not denying that at all. But the one thing that is overlooked all the time is water. Water in its dance with vegetation. Basically, the planet is not just warming up, it is the land masses that are drying out. And most extreme weather that we are seeing are actually caused by the disruption of the water cycle, not by 1 or 2 degrees extra. Although that has an effect, there is a larger effect actually caused by the drying out of soils and the devastation we have done with removing vegetation and specifically the way we do agriculture. And there's emerging science that shows actually that a significant amount of global warming can actually which is now attributed to CO2 and a bit to methane, etc., is actually very likely caused by the removal of forests, because the forests work as air conditioning, and especially the tropical forests do. And I'd like to also say that from a perspective of that the planet is actually an incredibly intelligent, maybe for us humans a bit slow being. She has been evolving life for 3.8 billion years with remarkable solutions. And we are overlooking quite often the solutions that are in nature, which may be by far smarter than the ones that we think of. So, but the basic story about water, and especially in tropical forests, because that is one of the game changers, is that forests basically work as in different ways to cool the ground, the ground surface. If I take the Amazon rainforest, there you see that there is a water cycle where a lot of rain falls every day during the wet months. They get sucked up by the soils, and then by the 400 billion trees, they get evaporated through the leaves, where the water gas goes up, where it then at a certain height condensates into clouds and falls back as rain. Now, the amount of transportation of heat that is going from the Earth's surface to up to the higher atmosphere is enormous. And if you make a calculation of the total heat imbalance of the Earth, which is something, let's say, around 2 watts per square meter, The total amount of heat that is daily transported in the Amazon alone to the higher atmosphere has something to that magnitude of energy that is transported up. So that's a huge heat pump going up. Now, what we don't know is that how much of that heat then, once it goes back into liquid, dissipates into space, and a part of it stays in the atmosphere. But my guess is it's probably more than 50% that dissipates into space. Apart from that, trees make clouds, and clouds increase the albedo over an area, and with that, an area cools as well. There are more ways that forests cool, but these are the two most important ones. The last one is that soils are actually, as long as they are wet from rain, they keep the photosynthesis going, which also keeps the cooling going and the production of biomass. So trees make clouds, and clouds cool, and trees transport heat to the outer atmosphere. That is basically the simple message, which, by the way, these two slides came from Green Water Cools. That's a group of people I work with. This is just a fun animation that I want to show where the photosynthesis during the year is taking place most. You see that in the northern winter, of course, there's hardly anything in the northern atmosphere. Then it comes back during summer. But the tropics, and especially the Amazon rainforest, are the big photosynthesizers around the world. And let me see, sometimes I get it to play this. Yes, and here you see half a year of moisture, atmospheric moisture rivers going over the planet, and you see that first of all, most of it is concentrated around the equator for obvious reasons. And secondly, you could also see that they are connected. So the one over Africa, for instance, goes all the way to the west, then goes into the Amazon, partly goes down and partly goes up. Actually, there's a global system of atmospheric rivers, and there's basically a global system of moisturizing our planet. And what we have done with the way we changed our soils just over the last since 1880, since we have started to look at temperature changes, you see that we have deforested an area the size of China or Canada or the US. It's all roughly the same size. And while all is attributed to CO2, my statement is that there is more and more evidence that actually maybe as much as 2/3 is actually caused by the destruction of the air conditioning capacity, the cooling capacity of forests. If that is so, it's a game changer. The other thing that I'd like to say is that all the way we're talking about climate right now is that we're going to net zero in 2050. And so I think if you look out of the window, if you look what shape the world is in, we're not going to make that. And at some point, the whole thing will cascade down. Specifically in the case of the Amazon rainforest, the people who know best, scientists of the Brazilian NASA, of INPE, they say that we have maybe 10 years to avert the dieback, because otherwise it becomes a runaway effect, and then it will die back between 30 and 60 years. Up to 70% of this continent-sized forest will disappear. And now that we know, if you accept that that thesis, that actually it also kills a lot of the cooling capacity of the Earth, the heat will go up much more than we think. So what we need is actually a regenerative revolution, regreening the Earth. And what needs to be done and when? Well, my statement is that we need to do, within a decade, we need to reforest, regenerate about a billion hectares of degraded land around the world. And starting at the hotspots to avert tipping points, the Amazon, first of all, because that's already starting in a runaway dieback. In tropical Africa, the effects of drying out of lands is much higher in the tropical regions because of the amount of solar energy that comes in. But the positive side is also that if you are able to rehydrate it and revegetate it, then the upswing is faster as well. And the southwest of the USA, of course, is in deep trouble. So if you would say we are in global trouble, what are the hotspots? Where do we focus first? I say it would be these three. And so how do we do that? Basically, rehydrating, revegetating. And that's the whole clue of the thing. Where in the tropics, it means that you have to scale up agroforestry, permaculture, and the regeneration of natural vegetation. Now, that's nice to say, but that's an undertaking the size our species has not done yet at the size and this scale. So how can we get all the factors in the right direction that we as a species, as humanity say, okay, let's do this? The first one is to change the climate story. Don't focus only on carbon, focus on water, as I just told. The second one, money always talks. It's actually a lot more affordable and it's faster than the whole decarbonization of our industrial economy and the energy transition, which of course need to happen. And they are happening. Those trains have left, but they are not going at a rate that is fast enough to avert disaster. Then turning despair into hope. Basically, if we would be able and willing, because it's mainly willing, to pay hundreds of millions of people in the global south to regenerate their own lands with these simple techniques of water management and rehydration and revegetation and switching from a monoculture type of agriculture into agroforestry and permaculture type of agriculture, we would not only be able to calm the weather, because I haven't told you that yet, but you actually know that a big forest doesn't allow for a drought so easily. It doesn't allow for a heat wave. It doesn't allow for a flash flood because it absorbs the rain once it falls on its moist soil, on its spongy soils. So the idea is to front load the regeneration, especially in the tropics, the Amazon first, sub-Saharan Africa, and also work needs to be done in the southeast of the United States. And if we do that at scale, we will calm the weather. We will mitigate the beatings of the food and water crisis, which mitigates the climate migration. And by my back of the envelope calculations say that within 2-3 decades, we might for the first time see that the temperature of the planet goes down, assuming that the decarbonization is going on and the energy transition is going on. So I have limited time, but basically what will happen is that once you organize how it can be done, then you have to invite the youth to basically regenerate their planet and make a big party of doing so. And also we need to redesign the way our communities work with nature and with food and with water. So in order to do that, we need an architecture, a digital architecture for global regeneration to make sure that within a decade, we are able to give the tools to people, hundreds of millions of people, maybe above 1 billion people, to do this regeneration, this global repair program. The first one, which is already live, but in private mode still, is what I call a Facebook of regenerative organizations. Everybody who's busy with it, as an institution, as a business, as an individual, comes on this platform to interact more effectively than we do now, to exchange information, plans, make coalitions to do regeneration. The second one, and this is what initially was said, is which is a game changer, is the Arara app. The word Arara comes from the indigenous word of the macaw in the Amazon, the colorful bird, and I have reason to call it like that. But you could say it's an Uber of reforestation. Basically, people would upload their land in the system. To do it very short, upload their land in the system. The system makes a calculation and a possibility, gives you a menu of possibilities how you could design that landscape with agroforestry, for instance, with but maybe a part with nature, etc. And then based on that, you get a material list and an inventory and a list of how much you need to invest. Based on that, if you're a small farmer, you can apply for a microcredit, which is partly financed on carbon finance. And then once you have uploaded yourself on that application, and you have the money and you can start your regeneration, because we need to do 10 billion hectares, sorry, 1 billion hectares, 10 million square kilometers within a decade to really make this effective. A part of it would be a regenerative digital currency. Once you have thousands and thousands of companies working for regeneration, if you start putting circulate a currency in between them, that will increase the flywheel effect of the regenerative economy, which is necessary also. We all know that our current financial system also is past its expiry date, and it needs to go, but it needs to go slowly, and we need to have another system in place. And you could visualize this all by seeing a sort of a Google Earth, where you could drill down into the smallest details, and there you would see first hundreds and then thousands and then millions of projects where people are busy, with also dashboards of what they are improving in terms of biomass, in terms of hydrology, in terms of other indicators. And this all can be done with the new technology of Web3, which means basically that that it is distributed, that it belongs to no one. It is, in fact, it's a digital commons that you create, and there you can put all your information on in the way you like it, and it's also easy to make it transparent. And you can also do decision making in a way that is also transparently executed in an automatic way, which is called a smart contract. But it's too short this time to explain all these things, so I'll just go to one app, and that's the Arara app. The whole basic idea is that you can actually, with the current tools that we have, we can actually we can monitor a terrain from a combination of satellite imaging and some time and location stamped photography for somebody showing their terrain. We can see how much biomass is there and how much is the biomass increase. And based on that, you can actually make a forecast how much carbon will be sequestered over 10-20 years, which right now has a value of about $20 per ton, but is likely to go up to maybe in the direction of $100 per ton by the end of this decade. And then a hectare in the tropics could easily do have a carbon value increase if we take 2030 prices of about 10 tons times $100 times 10 years is $10,000. So that there's a lot of money into carbon credits alone, and there's other forms of finance as well that could pre-finance this regenerative revolution. And then, of course, we have to tell the kids we have to stop the doom and gloom. once we give them the tools and they are going on a Facebook and on a digital platform showing off their new paradises, how they're cleaning up, how they're greening, and make it a race, make it a game, make it a fun competition, then I think it will be also beautiful for the young people to really make it the greatest challenge ever to repair the planet. So what will be the results that we get if we do this? Within 5 years, we'll see locally already calming weather in certain places because of the rehydration and the first increase in vegetation. We'll see that food and water security locally, especially in the tropics, will increase. The biodiversity destruction will decrease because more and more forests are being kept intact. And with that, the societal stress in many places is going down because that's one of the worst things that is happening right now. And it will slow down mass migration. 10 years ahead, we can be at the point where we can see the averting the dieback of the Amazon rainforest, and if that goes, if we let that go, we will not survive it as a species, or at least not as a society. We will be able to turn around the dramatic situation in Africa, where hunger right now is really knocking on the doors. And also in California and the southwest of the United States, we will see the return of water into lakes. Although this one is one that will take a little longer, maybe 20 years. So all these things are going in the right direction. And then in 20 years, I think we have a chance to see the first time that we clock a year where the temperature has gone down, and from there it will go down, which it has to be. So how can you help? If you think this is a credible story, tell the water story. Make sure that people understand that apart from decarbonization, energy transition, going circular, less meat, etc., we need to rehydrate the land and reforest the world. Apply it in your own area, but also support the hotspots that are needed most: Africa, the Amazon, and what needs to happen in the US. So that is roughly what I say is important. I just wanted to say I started in a very strategic area in the Amazon. I asked the people to start reforesting, and we have a contract now with Eden Projects. They are going to do 20,000 hectares, 50,000 acres. It's not that much yet, but it's a good start. And because of that, all the villages are starting to suddenly pop up in that huge area. It's a 1 million acre indigenous area, and they're all starting to reforest right now. So that's really wonderful. And that's especially here in this area of the northeast Amazon, which I showed you the atmospheric rivers coming in from West Africa. And because the forest has been basically depleted there, the humidity from the Atlantic Ocean is not drawn in as strongly as it was 30, 40 years ago. So if you reforest this, you strengthen the atmospheric river, and that has an effect on all the lands south of this area, an area larger than Texas and California together. So I guess that was a lot of information, and I'll stop sharing here. And thank you for listening. So I see 10 remarks in the chat. Erik, have you been looking at it?
Yeah, it's not all questions. There's some conversation in there as well. The first actual question was from Jackson in Africa. And
hello, Jackson.
If you see it too, how can smallholder farmers benefit directly in terms of increasing income? So.
Yes, I did a So I am reforesting in the tropical rainforest in Brazil, and there, if you do a combination of carbon credits, microcredit, pre-financing of the regeneration, and more information on how you optimize agroforestry, and in the best case, even if you are able to get organic certification, then you can see that the income of farmers can go up, can double in a couple of years. Why am I? That's broad strokes, because it depends very much on the local situation and which crops you do, etc. But I would say we would be able to ballpark double the income of smallholder farmers within a couple of years. That said, the problem is quite often that you need a transition phase, and for that you need a good plan, and you need pre-finance. And the good plan is also important in terms of, for instance, in Brazil, if you do cocoa beans combined with bananas already give money within 12 months. So it depends also how you exactly how you do the plan, but the general answer is yes, you can, and substantially so.
Okay, so the only other question I see so far, so Colin, you guys type some in there, is from Colleen in Utah, and she's just questioning your input on best way to rehydrate the American Southwest.
Sorry, I didn't get that, Erik.
I'm in the American Southwest. What is the best way to rehydrate the area? This is coming from Colleen Dick, who's based in Utah.
Yeah, okay. I'm not an expert. I'm an expert on the Amazon situation. I know a bit more about Africa, but I can give a couple of pointers. Okay, it's a combination of measures, and mind you, it's already quite dry there, so it will not go as easy as it is in the Amazon. But to start with, for instance, the fogs, the coastal fogs, for instance, have diminished by about 25% over the last, I don't know, 30 years or so. And that is a vicious circle that dries out land and also makes fires the area more fire prone. A lot of the there were a lot of marshes and wetlands also inland, for instance, in California, which have been drained for agriculture, and it is very much the question if that should not be changed back. I know there has been a discussion about forest fires. That there was the idea. No, you have to maintain them and make sure that there is no underbrush to let them go up in fire. Well, actually, the indigenous people, they have something which they call cultural burns, which basically is burning the underbrush, but you do it during humid times, so the fires don't get out of hand, and the nutrients from those fires actually increase the possibility for the vegetation to go up, etc. So I'm not an expert, but it's possible. Yes. Hello, Peter.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, and by the way, California was pretty forested. The coastal areas were pretty forested, let's say, before the gold rush. In general, if those forests were still there, we know it from British Columbia, of course. I mean, those are rainforests. We know how much they manage the water cycle. So, on a whole, taking your forests away is a very silly thing to do. I hope that those are a few pointers, but if you want to know more, I can give you, there is actually a Rehydrating California group that I know of where you could get much more detailed information. Okay. So
to a preemptive question, because I know Peter got here late, and I'm aware of what he's working on. And so I guess the way I'll bundle it into a curiosity of my own, because I know Peter's working very closely with some people who are working on carbon-based crypto as a tool to advance what we're all concerned about. Do you see some sort of, maybe through the app that you talked about, do you see some sort of merger of other values beyond carbon quickly entering the market in an understandable form for investors? So they, for instance, might be just pushing everything into sort of a generalized climate investment, or maybe they would be tackling separate carbon and water credits, or do you, I mean, you must be aware of that conversation, so I'm curious on your thoughts.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm very much aware of the discussion. As you know, I mean, we still have to get our ducks in a row with regards to carbon. So I would say let's clean up our act there, and also make it much easier to basically, because basically you mint carbon credits from looking at what is happening. So once you have that process done and you've weeded out a couple of projects, because the last time I looked, I saw 168 carbon credit projects, and there are probably more than that. So yeah, so I think first there needs to be a consolidation, a standardization, and an automation of the process of carbon credits. And then after that, you can put a lot more values on it. I think, well, you already talked water. I know a friend of mine in Kalimantan actually has a water contract for a city with suburbs, maybe 1.5 million people, to basically restore the forest and get paid for regenerating the water cycle there. So because in the dry season they have to tank, they have to go around with tankers. So water credits, certainly, that is one of the first ones. There's talk about biodiversity credits, but it gets a little bit more difficult there, how you do that. And there's all kinds of techniques which are which are upcoming. For instance, you can listen to a forest, how biodiverse it is. You can even smell how biodiverse a forest is. I've seen an article in Mongabay not so long ago. But I think we could also start putting in other things like cleaning up plastic cleanups, garbage, etc., and maybe also social factors. So I would say that the general answer is yes, but I'd rather have us first get our ducks in a row with regards to a solid carbon credit system that right now that has the capacity to actually serve. Because as far as somebody told me, I don't know what the source is, but right now the difference between demand and supply is a gigaton. So if we had a supply of a gigaton of extra carbon credits tomorrow, we could sell them. I don't know if it's really true, but this balance needs to go first. So.
Okay. I have one more question. This one comes from Greece, which is, as you know, is also suffering the generalized North Africa Mediterranean desertification,
Yes.
as well, catastrophic fires, etc. This is from Christiana, and she's got some projects, that sort of nested projects she's working on in her region, which, among other issues, is also suffering from depopulation. And so she's saying, if we want to invite people to our region that's in great danger of losing all its water, what is my first action to accomplish it, please? So any ideas about how to frame this as a compelling story? I would think, like, how do you get people to want to come and help?
Yeah, I understand. Can you be a bit more specific, Christiana, where it is in Greece?
Of course, we are in the region of Mount Parnonas, which is the eastern side of the Peloponnese. Yeah. Imagine a whole range of mountains. And on one side, we have Sparta. Everybody knows where Sparta is, or the brand is very, and we are about 1.5 hours away from that and overlooking the Aegean. So this is where we are located, but yesterday we visited one village that had cascades and the water was coming out. Now it's estimated about 13 times less water than it was about 5 years ago. Terrible. And our chestnut trees are dying.
Oh, horrible.
Yeah, horrible. So I really think, and you know, I am flabbergasted by the fact that we are dying. We have a dying region around here and the desertation of 24 villages and we do nothing. So I want fast, efficient, and let's get going. Like, I mean, that's my dream.
Yeah, I understand. I must say, I mean, I don't know enough because we would have to analyze it. First of all, the terrain. Of course, you need the people. And would you know how to do it without if you had the people and the finance?
If we had, well, you put a question. If we had the people and the finance, no, but we do have one scientist in our team that she's doing afforestation. So it's not like we are like blind mice, but we do not have the coordinated effort. That's what I wanted to say. I want to make it fast, efficiently, and coordinated. So that's why I'm asking for help.
Yeah, I understand. And please reach out to me. I could give you a little bit more tips than in the than within the contours of this talk. But in general, there's a very obvious one. Don't let one drop of rain run down, run off, and you know how to do that. Then I don't know exactly. We would have to look at the species, but you have to have drought-resistant species. I don't know. I don't know if there's. Is there animal husbandry in the area?
Yes, we do have the American School of the American Agricultural School in the northern part of Greece, but now they're setting up shop down here. So, and animal husbandry is one of the very strong, but we are open to all kinds of synergies.
I'm not an expert in this particular terrain, but my first thing I would say is no goats for the next 20 years.
No goats?
No, maybe sheep, but no goats. So, I mean, it's a lot of very specific measures that are tailored to that particular area. But the idea is basically that, do you have fogs? Do you have winter fogs?
Do we have, sorry?
Winter, do you have winter fogs?
Not very many, no.
Oh, okay.
We have a snowfall, but not.
Okay, so snowfall is beautiful. So again, there you have to make sure that it infiltrates into the soils, and basically it doesn't run off. It's. I mean, in that sense, it's as simple as it can be, but it's a lot of work. But please reach out to me, and I'd love to have a look at it from Google Earth, and maybe connect you to a couple of people who know much more than me.
Okay, thank you very, very much. I appreciate that.
Would be wonderful. Thank you.
Carl, can you clarify the goat thing?
Well,
are you asking me to clarify the question, or?
Goats are incredibly versatile in terms of what they eat, and they're also acrobats. They can get anywhere. You can't stop them unless you put them in a cage that is completely locked and you throw away the key. So it's almost never a good idea to have goats in an area because they simply destroy too much vegetation. That's all. It's a very simple one. But I know that some, especially rural parts in Greece, they may have a lot of goats. So.
You've obviously never seen acrobatic sheep before.
Yeah, less acrobatic in general, I would say. But we can have another discussion on that piece.
I'm not disagreeing, but I'm part of a conversation, people who want to use goats for reducing fire fuel, for clearing brush, but you're right, they have to be managed. And I have pictures of goats climbing a palm tree. So
Yep.
It's acrobats may be sort of may not be fair enough to what they can do. It's unbelievable.
They're even worse than that. Yeah.
They cope well with verticals in a way that no animal of their size can. Obviously, there's much smaller animals that have no problems with verticals, but they don't have the capacity to destroy vegetation quite so effectively. Although the next thing down is sheep, and if it's not verticals and it's like 45, 50 degrees of angle, you can have the same problem with sheep. It just depends on the terrain.
Yeah.
The distinction between sheep and goat eating is that goats actually prefer woody plants,
right? Yeah,
trees, whereas sheep would rather eat grass.
Yeah,
exactly.
So, I mean, they both need to be managed, but there's a reason that you can follow the destruction of the Mediterranean basin by the spread of the goats.
Yeah, yeah. Pigs just don't do it unless you get the flying variety.
Actually, pigs can be very helpful if you have a large field because they plow for you. You don't need tractors.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. We're back to our zero-till cultivation.
Yeah, it's sort of it's not zero-till, it's pig-till.
I see David,
David,
putting the hand up, but I just, if I may, please, David, I just want to say that 10, 15, 20 years ago, in my region, there were about 50,000 goats and 175 families of shepherds. And we were not experiencing a problem in the mountain. We did not have a problem with the water or anything. And now we only have 3,000 goats and maybe 7 families that they live off the goats. And we are considering them as a problem. I'm sorry, but I do have to, question the I'm sorry.
Luciana, I haven't been there. Maybe I'm wrong, but it was just a pointer. I know it happened in other areas where they were really a problem.
Dave, you got your hand up.
Yeah, thanks. I wanted to make sure, and Brian, I don't know if you're still on, or if Brian's, I want to make sure that Brian and Peter, have you guys connected?
I am.
Yeah, so Brian Van Herzen is also on the list. He's in Australia, and one of the conversations we've been having, and I think it may overlap, Rob, is how do we do large scale funding for these kinds of projects, and what's the funding stack look like, and how do we better understand the funding stack so that we can fund large scale projects? And I know this is something Peter's been working on, and both Rob and Brian have kind of projects that could absorb a lot of capital, I think. And so I've been trying to figure out if there's some way we could almost crowdsource a research project and assign various teams to various parts of the funding stack, and identify opportunities to raise hundreds of millions of dollars to do in Brian's case marine aquaculture, in Rob's case jungle restoration, maybe something. I don't know how you want to frame it, Rob, but I would love to try to figure out how to have that conversation, maybe. So.
And Peter, you should be part of that conversation.
Yes, yep.
You've got your finger into a pot of wannabe investment. So.
Absolutely. So I got people with the money. You got people with the problems. We just put them together.
Yeah, I can actually tell you that I'd love to share a plan, basically a pitch deck for to set up the. It's basically the foundation. You're talking about, okay, first of all, the scientific part. There's about 2,500 scientific documents that have been cataloged that need a desk research by some people with a name. And then in the end, they say, well, we looked at it and forests cool this much. Mm-hmm. So then the business case, we have with green water calls, they specifically want to talk to pension funds and the insurers in insurance industry, because they are obviously having a problem with the world going in the wrong way. And they have the kind of money that could actually go into this regeneration. Then you need the scaling, because a lot of these projects are always by people like us with laptops and good salaries and good houses. But the real people who are going to get us out of trouble are the rural people in especially the global south and other places that are going to do the work, and we need to pay them. We need to pay them well, and we need to pay them fast, and that needs a scaling that needs this technical and also information and communication. That package needs to be funded so that they can all get on board, basically with an app. You get on board with an app, you can have a million people a day who join. So all these, and then there is the large thing, the last thing in the plan that we are promoting is very important. All of this destruction is caused by humans, the human minds, by inventions, by its consciousness. We need a change of consciousness, and we need a change of mood on our planet, because we're digging our own grave by just being gloomy about it and looking just in the direction of carbon. Now, if we are able to rekindle the youthful hope, and we're going to do it kind of passion around the world, and the youths see an opening to get rid of climate change in 2 decades and get on with their lives, I think they'll jump on it, and then we have a lot of dynamics which we need. So
Carl,
I'd love to share that with anybody this plan.
Carl, do you want to say something? Because you say you have to jump off.
Yeah, just real quick. This is so great, and I'm probably boring David about this again and again, but in my efforts as an architect to figure out what can we do to make things work, so re-looking at a project that was built in Davis, California from 1975 to 1981, and it shows how to do this in American suburbs. But more exciting, they got the hydrological cycles right, and it's, there's 60 acres, 200 homes, 300 fruit trees. People are living off the land. The microclimate is 10 to 15 degrees less than neighboring communities.
It's really like that.
It's what's interesting is that, and your work is great, but but I'd like to champion is that they just talk about how this can be done, not just in South America or developing countries. It can be done in America, which is the source of so much of the problem. And so, it's like I said in the text, there's ways to show how it can be incorporated in America and improve our lives, not diminish our lives. We can enrich. So I'd love to follow up with that, but thank you so much. It's the hydrological cycle is absolutely important. So thanks.
Thank you. I will put my email address here for anybody who would like to reach out. And I'd love to share the plan with people. I think there's some relevance to it. Yeah.
In my recent deep dive into this project, I found a really great video by Lawson, the fellow who founded the Permaculture Institute, and he said that within the first 3 years, with the swells, the soil was moist 3 feet down. I mean, I think he can in 1 year it was 3 feet down, and within 3 years the soil was more moist than 18 feet down. And the trees are more productive. The tree health now, 47 years after it was built, it's the tree health, the fruit production is extraordinary.
Yeah, it is. It goes so fast, but you need the first few years to tie over. That's the big thing. Otherwise, people would jump on it, but
that lesson of it. The soil was changed, which is with 3 years. It's like it needs to be like a Madison Avenue ad campaign. I mean, I was shocked that it had so much effect. It was so fast.
Yeah.
And
So was I. I mean, I did it in the valley in the tropics, and I was amazed at the effect. At the last drought that we had there, that you have these once in 100-year droughts that come every few years these days. And the last one, my valley was the only one in the whole region that still had water. And that was 5 years of work, and not that much.
Well, I mean, there's so many lessons. And one of these developers, they struggled with the city of Davis to get it approved. And the city of Davis said, no, you can't do this because it's drainage swells, this distributed stormwater system, I would call it. But Davis resisted it and said, it's going to flood. There'll be problems. We need to be engineered. And then a few years after it was finished, there was a large rainstorms in Davis. And it was about the only community in Davis that didn't flood. So on and on, it's like nature works.
The problem is it's so simple, people don't believe it.
It absolutely is the problem. Yeah, I think that's we have a hard time accepting simple solutions.
Exactly.
This is great. I look forward to following up with you and
wonderful. Thank you.
This is great.
Peter, you still want to say? I after that I really have to go, but I'd love to.
This is great stuff. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. No, Peter, no, you still have your hand up, or was it?
Yeah. So about moisture capture, I don't think, and this is like I put my marketing hat on. I am absolutely convinced that the public do not understand that the capability of, as it were, mastering moisture capture in places where the precipitation is declining or is deficient or is absent or is problematic, that in other words, you can pull water out of a clear blue sky, well,
yes, you can.
Black sky at night, because you engineer the landscape, you engineer the ground, you engineer the soil or the sand or whatever it is, using other organic matter and so on and so forth, using permaculture techniques. I am absolutely convinced this would sound like science fiction or magic to anybody who's outside of that field. And I think part of the job of letting people know that de-desertification is even a thing, or is even possible, or is not just a theory, is a communication job that has never been done, and that is kind of people would say, oh, it's not a secret, amongst people who know about permaculture or know where it fits into reclamation or environmentalism, they would know all about this. Nobody else does. Absolutely nobody else does.
Yeah, it's true. The marketing needs to be done, but I guess pilot projects are there. I must say there's a couple of very, very good videos, which maybe, Erik, can I send them to you? There's just 3-minute videos, the explainers that are so good, and that really would help people to understand, oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Dave, can we post those to the Slack, or what's the best?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Maybe
Okay,
send
I'll make a note of that, and I'll send them to you.
And Rob, you are in the GRC Slack too. I don't know if you've been using the Slack, but you're being invoked once in a while. So just FYI, people are talking about it.
Yeah, there's so many systems, so you know how it is. But I'll have a look. Thank you. Videos.
We're past time, and I know you're past time, Rob. If there's nothing burning last second, I mean, you've got Rob's email as well. You can chat with him if we can get him onto Slack. You can chat with him there. But if not, then thanks so much for being with us, Rob.
Well, thank you, and I hope to hear from you, all of you, and I will send you some things, Erik. Thank you. Have a lovely day and evening. Bye bye.
Rob, thank you so much. Yeah, send it to us. Happy to channel it around, and like I said, Peter and maybe Brian, if we can, if you're interested in the financing conversation, I'd love to continue it. So I don't know how exactly the format, but to me, it seems.
I'd love to. Thank you.
Leveraged.
Bye.
All right, see you guys.
Okay.